For some reason that is somewhat understandable, the most underrated console of the 7th generation was the Nintendo Wii. It is often seen as belonging to casual players or younger audiences, but you only need to look at its game library to determine that it's not that simple. Many of its games could rival the strongest titles on competing consoles, although the latter might be superior in graphics and some aspects like online multiplayer. This is seen from my perspective, but to give substance to my opinion, I have to talk about an exclusive game on the Wii, and that is MadWorld. This game belongs to and was developed by Platinum Games. It was released in 2009, and to play it you must use a Wii remote and a nunchuck. As inspiration, you can see the work of Frank Miller, Sin City. It all begins with a city in a state of crisis. Terrorists called the Organizers have taken it over and cut off all communication with the outside world. But this is just a preamble for Varigan City to become the stage of an event. The DeathWatch, a kind of show where the most atrocious things can happen, and everything is broadcast to an audience hungry to see the lowest that a human being can sink to, thus quenching humanity's bloodthirst in true deep web style. All contestants earn points by killing others, while the civilians, who were forced 3 days before the start of the game to fight, by means explained in the story, have been taken hostage and left at the mercy of the madness that may befall them. At that moment, Jack appears, a contestant who is sent into the city by an agency to determine what is happening, infiltrating as a contestant and finding a corrupt sponsor, Agent 13, to discover just how rotten power can become. During the game, as mentioned, we control Jack Kamen, a kind of antihero who has a retractable chainsaw embedded in his right hand, which he uses for defense and to perform various moves in environments. Everything simulates being in a comic book in black, white, and different shades of gray, where the only color we see will be red, highlighting the blood of enemies or your own. The game is a hack and slash where the objective is to earn points, which are awarded based on the different variables we use to finish off contestants. Primarily, we can punch them, grab them, jump, dodge their attacks, and use our chainsaw. The latter has a limited time of use represented by a bar below our health indicator. When depleted, it will recharge over time. To perform different actions, we have to move the Wii remote in the desired direction, while the nunchuck is used to move, jump, and lock the camera onto enemies. In the environments, there are various objects that can be used on enemies to increase our score. The more things we do to enemies, the more points they give, and we finish them off either with our hands or by using the environment, all with flashy deaths and a quick time event screen. As our score rises, different areas, objects, enemies, and mini-games will unlock within the level. So the game creates the context of being on a TV show. Sometimes they are not necessary to reach the area boss, but they're always very useful, especially the different weapons that will become available. Meanwhile, the mini-games focus on using some mechanism to shred and thus kill as many enemies as possible, all presented and explained by the immortal Black Baron. All of these give points and are recorded so you can beat them whenever you want. By accumulating a certain number, we can face the boss of that area, and upon defeating it, we will rank up to the level of that boss. The levels are very flashy, and we can explore them at will. Most are on foot, but in some we ride a motorcycle. All of it is narrated by our sadistic commentators, who can make you laugh. Something I don't understand is why almost everything is translated except the cutscenes. The narrator's voices, instructions, and menu are translated. It's not a problem since they have subtitles, but I don't understand why it happens with the cutscenes. Each level, which could be divided into chapters, must be completed in under 30 minutes. There will be side missions like finding certain objects or saving civilians. Throughout them, we have 2 lives to finish, but you can get more by finding some balloons with Jack's face on them. However, these do not carry over, so when you start another level, the counter returns to 2. As you progress through the story, the game unlocks different challenges on the different levels you have completed. If we get lost, we can use the mini-map, which shows where enemies and items are that will unlock things for us. To recover health, we must grab pills that restore a portion, while if we eat Jack's favorite food, i.e. raw onions, it will fully restore it. Enemies, while they are varied, are abundant. In fact, it's very difficult for hordes not to keep coming as we move from one place to another. But many times they simply stand there doing nothing and attack sporadically. These are the ones we can decorate with different objects. Obviously, as we advance through the game, they become more hostile. Then there are the sub-bosses, larger enemies with more varied attacks that attack without any consideration. Finally, there are the bosses, many of them psychopaths with wildly varying outfits and disparate actions, whose health we must reduce to finish them off. These and the larger enemies can be subjected to quick-time events, which end up being brutal, bloody, satisfying, and sometimes funny. All enemies are thematic. For example, in the Chinatown region, enemies wear Chinese and Japanese clothing and weapons. The game has a multiplayer mode, but only local, and we compete in mini-games. This is not bad, as the competitive mode is very addictive, and thus you'll find out who is the biggest psychopath among your friends. One thing that would have been great is to be able to play the story mode with another person, as it would lend itself to sessions where laughter becomes the protagonist. The game is not very difficult and controls almost perfectly. Even though one might think that shaking the controller would be annoying, I personally believe it allows us to immerse ourselves more in the game because it becomes more dynamic than simply pressing a button when the screen tells you to. One of the problems worth highlighting is the camera, which is a limitation in games on this console, as it is very difficult to adjust it to your liking, and in this game you simply cannot. You can lock onto enemies when the game feels like it, but in moments when we are exploring without enemies, it might position itself in the worst possible way. I would recommend it to people who want to relax and watch the world burn in their own hands. The story becomes interesting, but it also creates a negative effect, as the game and its gameplay are chaotic and, strange as it sounds, very fun, while the narration has a very serious tone. The multiplayer is an attractive plus that will make your day, and above all, killing scum is very entertaining, even when repeating the same action many times, especially in boss fights. Many of them have memorable moments, and fighting them becomes addictive. If you ask me, it becomes very fluid and greatly highlights the essence of the game. I would not recommend it because of its violence, bearing in mind that it is for adults, although this game reached some rather strange controversial limits, especially in some countries. If you don't like moving the controller to perform actions, I'm afraid there is no other way to play it. If you're looking for a complete online multiplayer experience, you won't find it here, and especially if you still have some prejudice against this console and don't allow yourself to give a chance. A game that, like others, has become a cult classic, not very well known due to the aforementioned factors, but it is fun, controversial, though what game with blood isn't? With a context that if it happened in real life would be a huge scandal and a demonstration that everything we have is a disgusting lie. That is MadWorld. I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit like. If you know someone who might like it, share on your social networks, and don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. If you have any questions, suggestions, or just want to comment something, don't hesitate to do so in the comments box. Also, if you're a big fan of this channel, hit the notification bell to be among the first to see the videos. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you later. Bye-bye.